Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast. I am Kristen Boyce, a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice, Pathways to Healing Counseling. Through conversations, education, strategies, and shared stories, we will be closing the chapter on all the thoughts, feelings, people, and circumstances that don't serve you anymore and open the door to possibilities and the real you. You won't want to miss an episode, so be sure to subscribe. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. Third time's a charm. I have tried to record this intro 3 times, and this one's going to be it. I can just feel it because whoever's listening to this podcast is meant to be here right now. You are on a healing journey. You want to get unstuck. You're tired of feeling the way you do. You want to learn healthier ways to deal with the hard things in life and be able to sit with your hard emotions and know you're going to get through it. Because many times we feel like we're going to get stuck in emotions like grief and sadness and anger and shame and fear. And we don't know how to move up and out of those emotions. And today we're going to talk about why it's important and how to do it. So if you're like, well, I need help in this area, I want to learn how to feel feelings and move through them and get to the other side, this is the episode for you. Let me tell you about my guest. Dr. Jenn Rapkin is a naturopathic physician, body worker, former dancer, which we talk about, and frequent feeler with more than 25 years of experience in mind, body, and body-centered therapies. Her new book, The Feeling Muscle, chronicles her personal and professional transformation from physician to a shepherd of feelings. In her clinical practice, her body work table is a place to hold space for, validate, and give voice to her patient's inner felt emotion. She has had the good fortune in her life to balance deep and meaningful inner reflection with rich and interesting life experiences, which has helped her to share with vulnerability her journey on how she even realized that emotions were so important and what her body was telling her. Grab the companion journal that's for free that I offer at kristendboyce.com/free resources. I know that people can find healing no matter what they've gone through emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I have seen it happen in the 25 years I've been doing this, and emotional work is critical to that journey. If you're not learning how to deal or feel or connect to your emotions, it's going to be really hard to get unstuck or even find the hope or possibility of healing. So I hope this episode gives you some tools and inspiration to keep going on your healing journey. I believe in you, and I'm so grateful you're here. So here is my conversation with Dr. Jenn Rapkin. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. You know, if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, I love emotions. I think they are critical to the healing process. The more we feel, the more we heal. And so I have the perfect guest who wrote a book on this very topic, and it is called The Feeling Muscle. And I love the subtitle, How Felt Emotions Can Help You Sit With and Outlast the Hard Feelings, because people are so afraid to feel. So Dr. Jenn Rapkin, welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast.
Kristen, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Tell the audience a little bit about you and the journey to discovering how important feelings are to the healing process.
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, I'm a naturopathic physician. I am also a body worker and a former dancer. And my journey, my feelings journey, began as a young child. I was a big feeler. And I was fortunate to have very loving parents, but parents that were very protective. And when I say protective, they felt that young kids should be protected from hard topics, hard conversations, and hard feelings. And because of that, they shielded me from a lot. And I didn't have both the role models of seeing my parents, my family, deal with hard stuff and have hard conversations. And they didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about what they were feeling and how to share what's inside. And so as a result, I became, I would say, chronic number. I didn't know I had all these feelings, big feelings in my body, swirling through me, and I didn't know what to do with them. And in my adolescence and young adulthood, I became very good at hiding from my feelings, numbing them, distracting them, and avoiding them. And so my professional life has been exploring how to actually let myself feel what brews inside me.
How did you figure out you were numbing and avoiding? Because some people are like, well, that's just how I am. That's just who I am. How did
Yeah.
you discover, oh man, I am really numbing and avoiding my feelings?
It's a great question. And I think for me, it was a realization in my 20s, my mid 20s, when I had to really take a hard look at my life. And what I saw was somebody who was avoiding friendships and relationships because I didn't want to deal with messy, complicated feelings. And I wasn't taking risks. I was playing it safe in my life. Again, because I didn't want to put myself out there, because what it meant to be out there was dealing with hard stuff and hard feelings. And taking that look at myself made me look honestly at my behaviors and realizing that I'm also an introvert. And so to retreat away from things comes very naturally to me. But I started to realize that that wasn't just a trait. It wasn't just a characteristic. It was a way that I was avoiding my life. And I wanted more. I was lonely. I was numb. I was exhausted. I was tired. I was disconnected. And I wanted something different.
So, what would you do to numb?
Food was my numbing agent, binging. And I was also a dancer. And so I alternated between both restricting food and binging on food. I would say for me, for sure, food was my number, my way to numb.
Yeah, I think that's a common one
It's a common one. Yeah,
because we're trying to look for comfort. It's like a companion almost.
no doubt. I mean, I still to this day will notice myself, something's coming up, if something's brewing inside, a worry and anxiety. My first reaction is, oh, I'd love to grab something crunchy or something sweet.
What hard feelings were you avoiding? When you say I was avoiding hard feelings, what were the hard feelings you didn't want to feel?
I think shame, for sure, shame around, again, having an eating disorder as a dancer. That was a big one. Avoiding feeling embarrassed and rejected, right? So like just growing up as an adolescent and trying to fit in with peers. Who wants to feel those feelings, right? Who wants to feel rejected? I was also a perfectionist, so I feared failure. And so that was a hard feeling. I never want to feel like I've failed. I never want to feel like I've made waves or done something wrong.
Yeah, those are common. I think none of us like to feel that. So,
No.
how did you discover, oh, I need to actually feel all of these in order to unlock what I'm stuck in? How did that
Mhm.
begin?
So I should probably go back a little bit and also give you just a little more background about myself. So I also have both. I sound like such a complicated person. Oh my gosh. I'm so,
No, you sound
um,
great. Interesting. I'm like, tell us
yeah.
more.
So I also have OCD. Okay. So I have a very complex and crowded brain that tends towards worry and fear and stress. Okay. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners
So many.
can relate to that, right? Our,
Yes.
our brain just goes to that place of worry. So for me, again, came a point where I was so desperate to find more of myself than just my mental noise. I needed to figure out who I was apart from these intrusive thoughts that I was having and all of these fears and worries. And at the same time, being a big feeler, my body was screaming at me with feelings that I was holding in. So my body is swirling and screaming and brewing. It was almost as if my body was saying, Jenn, like, pay attention to me. Listen to me. It was as if my body was guiding me. I was always going to my brain. I was always going up to my head for wisdom and insight. And my body was saying, no, this is where you need to go to find insight and wisdom and guidance. And so I started to do a lot of body work, going to body workers, really exploring my body. And that is when, this is a long-winded answer to your question.
This is beautiful.
This is when I realized that I had to feel more, and that I had to welcome in what was brewing inside of me. And I had to recognize it and give it a voice.
So you knew, okay, this worry, I'm in my head, I'm ruminating, I'm hyperfixating, I'm worried about this, I'm afraid, like you're anxious, because this is what so many people are struggling with right now.
Yeah.
Where do they start to get into their body or feel more? If someone's like, I don't even know where to begin, like I'm all in my head trying to problem solve this or mitigate the what if scenarios.
It's a great question. And I would say I have sort of a 3-part answer to it. The first place to start is simply sort of the concept of mindfulness and or body awareness. And all that means, it's very simple. All that means is bringing your awareness or your attention inward and just see what's there. It might simply be feeling your anxiety, right? That's an awareness. That's a body awareness. Oh, I'm feeling my anxiety and it's in my belly right now. Or it might be feeling a tension in your jaw, tension in your ankles, in your knees. Maybe you're clenching your fists. Maybe your shoulders are sneaking up to your ears. It's just a simple awareness of the body. And then that can deepen. And what I like to do in the body work with my patients is to then give that body awareness a voice. And what I mean by that is to be able to articulate, okay, so this is what I'm feeling. And it may not be words. For some people, it's colors. For some people, it's an image or a sound or a memory. But to give somebody permission to actually give a feeling that they have inside of themselves a voice. And then taking that a step further and being able to stay with that feeling. You know, the idea of sitting with feelings is can be very abstract and difficult to grasp. And one of my goals in writing this book is to actually make the idea of sitting with your feelings a tangible, discernible, real experience. Oh, so I actually feel, what does my fear feel like inside my body? Oh, it feels like a ball right under my sternum. And it's so tight. And now it's getting bigger, whatever that may be. And it's different for everybody. But to be able to give it a voice. Another long-winded answer.
No, this is perfect. This is what we like.
Yeah.
So if someone says, okay, so I go in and I assess where is maybe the anxiety living? It might be in my chest. It might be in my tummy. You named all the places it could be. It could be other places.
Could be other places. Sure.
You want to give it a voice. And does that mean it could be imagery? It could be colors. It could be a number of things. Do they then verbalize that? Do they write it down in a journal? How do they begin to sit with it?
Yeah.
Be with it?
Yeah. And that's different. And I will say that's different for different people. And sometimes the first awareness that you might gain, and it's an important awareness, is that you don't want to feel it. Sometimes that awareness is the first, and it's an opening a door to then stay with it. And to stay with it can mean different things to different people. So it might be journaling what that experience was sitting with your fear. That would allow somebody who perhaps likes to find narratives in their experience. That would be a perfect way to sit with a feeling. Somebody who maybe is used to more mindfulness and meditation may simply want to be and stay with that feeling. Somebody may want to dance. Someone may want to draw a picture. Someone may want to write a poem. Somebody might want to scream, an expression of the feeling, an expression of the emotion. But really, the idea of finding feeling in our body that is both tangible, that there's a location to a feeling, that there may be an intensity to the feeling, and there may be a density to that feeling. that gives you something to hang your hat on and to be with.
Because I have clients say this, they want to know the why. But why do I feel like this? But why?
Yeah.
Because that
But
kind of moves them back up into their heads.
it moves you back into your head for sure. And listen, as a society, we celebrate and prioritize the mind, right? We celebrate and prioritize our intellect and our cognitive ability. And so it makes sense that we're asking for the why. But what I might say to that person is, let's try to do something just a little bit different. And rather going to the mind for the why, or rather than going to the mind for the insight, go to the body and ask the body why. And I would say that it's okay also for it to be like weird and uncomfortable for people. Like that's okay because stuff comes from being uncomfortable. Growth comes from being uncomfortable. So asking a question that, or just might turn something on their head, just shifting where we're going to ask a question, even if we don't have an answer. If you ask somebody, well, ask your body why. They might look at you like you have 2 or 3 heads, right? But that's also okay to let that question germinate a little bit, right? Let that question sit.
I like that, to ask the body why.
Ask the body. Yeah.
To shift out of the head and into the body. Because I think for some, it's really challenging to shift into the body out of the head. I find that that's really hard, especially if someone's used intellectualizing or information, which can be helpful to try to feel better. And when we're like, okay, let's shift this, what else can people do to get out of their heads and into their bodies?
So I think that I just want to say one thing before answering that question is I also don't want to come across as being really judgy about the fact that we spend a lot of time in our heads. I really don't. I don't want people to feel like I'm shaking my finger at that. Our minds, they put people on the moon. They create life-saving advancements and technology. So in no way when I say, let's spend more time in our body, am I diminishing that. All I'm saying is that our mind, while it is brilliant, it is also something that doesn't always tell us the truth, right? Our brain can tell us things about ourselves that are not helpful, right? We can beat ourselves up. We can be really critical about ourselves. So to find something within ourselves, something deeper, something other than the brain, other than the mind, it broadens our world. It expands who we are. So that is simply dedicating some time every single day to some form of body-centered work. And that could literally be 2 minutes. It could literally be when you're sitting at your desk, take a minute and feel your feet. If you're washing your dishes, take a moment and feel your breath. These are openings to bring you into your body. One of the exercises I talk about in the book is called a 50-50 exercise. It sounds really simple, but it's not. But what it's all about is having brief moments throughout your day where you just pause, if you can, if you're able to pause, and just say, can I, for the next minute or two, can I put 50% of my attention on what I'm doing, whatever that is, watering the plants, brushing my teeth, folding the laundry, and can I put 50% of my attention on somewhere in my body? It's like the phrase, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Can I stay present with whatever I'm doing, but also stay present with myself? That, again, it's harder than it sounds, but it's big stuff. And it's big stuff because it's showing us that being present can mean being present with people in your lives and activity and work, but being present with ourselves as well.
I think that's a really helpful exercise to see, can I do what I'm doing, wash the dishes, do whatever it is I'm doing, and stay connected to my body at the same time?
In any way that feels right to you. So sometimes I hesitate to give a specific exercise because someone may not want to feel their gut, or they may not want to feel their chest. They'd rather feel their feet, or they'd rather just notice an inhale or an exhale. Or maybe they just want to play with their hands. or shake their hands a little bit. We can certainly give people lots of suggestions on how to feel their body and where to begin to play with those ideas. But to let somebody figure out, what would I like to do while I'm maybe at my computer writing this email to my boss? Maybe I can just focus on feeling my feet on the ground. What does that feel like while I'm writing? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but it's good stuff.
It is, because we're so disconnected from our bodies. I mean, we weren't taught this when we were little. Like, where do you feel that in your body? That wasn't a question.
You're absolutely right. We're not taught to question our mind or our thoughts. So we're not really taught to say, oh gosh, is what I'm saying to myself right now helpful and constructive? We're not taught that. And we're definitely not taught to stay in our bodies and be in our bodies and pay attention to our bodies.
What do you think as a dancer that did to connecting or disconnecting to your body? Because many people are athletes or dancers or gymnasts, or I mean, we could insert anything. What do you think that did to you disconnecting from your body?
So there was a very significant shift for me in my dancing life. And it went from looking at dance almost as imitation. So like I would see my dance teacher or a peer do a routine or do steps, and I would imitate them. I would mimic them. I would do it. And then when I went to college, I studied dance in college. I was introduced to body-centered therapies and body awareness and modern dance. And my world changed, because all of a sudden I realized that movement can originate and can come from within, as opposed to wearing it or putting it on top of myself, right? And so I think any person, whether you're an athlete or a dancer, however you use your body, there are times when we're just going through the motions, and that's okay. Again, I'm not judging, just noticing. There are times that we just go through the motions and just get it done. Again, almost like we're wearing the exercise or we're wearing the dance. And then there are other times where that can come from inside and it's the word embody. We talk about embodying things. When we embody ourselves, the movement or the feeling is generated from within outward.
And then where do emotions come into play? Because a lot of us were taught to shove down our emotions, shake it off, disconnect from our emotions. Where does that enter the picture in the healing process?
So you're right. You just used these words. I mean, the messages that we get from our society and our caregivers, this feeling stuff is inconvenient. There isn't time for it. Just get on with it, grin and bear it, like you said, and just toughen up. Where does it fit? When I was writing this book, one of the questions that I got and that I asked myself a lot was, why feel hard feelings? Why do it? Why do the hard work?
That's the $1 million question.
That's
People are like, what's the point? Why do I need to do this?
Yeah, because it's really hard and there's not a lot of time to do it. And all the messages in our world are telling us not to do it. And on top of that, we have a plethora of distractions literally at our fingertips, right? So we've got video games and texts and emails and social media and breaking news and all of these things, right? That can just take us away from our feelings. So why feel hard feelings? Well, the first thing that I want to say to answer that question is that the behaviors and choices that we make to avoid our feelings do not bring us closer to ourselves, our best selves, and our present moment. So everything that we do to avoid, numb, and distract our feelings move us away from ourselves and from our present moment. And then if we go even a little deeper, when we don't feel our hard feelings, we don't trust that we can get through them. We don't trust, we don't believe, we don't know how to get through them. And because of that, that makes our lives smaller. We become daunted by emotions. We were talking about rejection, failure, shame, disappointment. If we don't know that we can get through these feelings and we'll be okay, we may say no to a new opportunity, right? We may stay home. Rather, we might not take a new job. We might not take a big leap in our life or do something exciting and different. And so hard feelings hold us hostage if we don't know how to move through them or if we don't believe that we can survive them. And then one step further is that our emotions also hold the people we love and the people that are around us hostage. You talk about all of the phrases that we use to push through emotions. There's a lot of phrases to stuff down emotions and swallow emotions and hold it in, right? And whenever we hold in and stuff our emotions and we sit on our emotions, we create the possibility that that emotion will come out at a later date in a way that is strong and powerful and perhaps spewed and vomited at somebody that we love. And so there's so many reasons why feeling our feelings is so important.
I think it's the key to also connection, real deep connection. If we're not feeling, we're cut off from parts of ourselves that allow love in and expansion. So how does someone begin to be with, tolerate, if you will, hard emotions or emotions in general? Like instead of shoving them down and avoiding them or really talking ourselves out of the purpose of connecting to emotions. Like, what's the point? What's the point? Where does someone begin to just start leaning into it and tolerating them?
Yep.
Beyond that, being with them.
Being with them. So a couple of things that I'll say. The first thing is I've talked a lot about hard emotions. There are also some really awesome ones too. And so in our lives today, we don't always take in those amazing moments of wonder and awe and love and appreciation and gratitude. And so that is a place that we can begin to take in feeling, is to allow ourselves a moment to take in something really good, because we're a little less prickly about that. We're a little less guarded. Yeah. And we might be more willing to try to see, well, what does that feel like? If somebody just gave me like a really cool compliment, what does that feel like to take in? Where might I feel that? And could I just take a minute and just sit with whatever comes? That's all. No expectations. Just sit with something really good. And then taking it maybe into a little place where it might be harder. I believe that starting with smaller, everyday frustrations is a place to start rather than something that's really big. I had a friend who was reading an early version of my book, and she said to me, I need you to tell me I'm deathly afraid of getting on an airplane. I need your help to be able to sit through a 3-hour flight. And I said to her, well, wait a second. Before we sit with that, let's just start practicing with an everyday, just a frustration. Listen, everyday stuff doesn't feel that good either. A frustration, an embarrassment, a mistake, feeling like you made a mistake. But that's a little less daunting. And we can begin to say, okay, so right now I'm feeling, let's just say, I don't know. So my boss yelled at me and I'm taking that in. I really feel like I made a mistake and it feels awful, right? So I'm feeling maybe a little bit of embarrassment. I'm feeling maybe some rejection. I'm feeling some failure. Maybe what we want to do is maybe go to the vending machine and grab some chips, or maybe we want to go get a candy bar, or maybe we'll have a glass of wine when we come home. But maybe before that, just sitting with that feeling of frustration, being able to say, okay, I know that I can get through this. I know that I can get through this feeling. And can I sit down, put both my feet on the ground and just see if I can welcome? And I know this may sound absolutely crazy, Kristen, but I know not to you, it doesn't. But
because I'm like, I love this stuff.
Yeah, you love this stuff, but it might sound crazy to somebody. But to try to welcome in to your body that discomfort. See if you can welcome in that discomfort, almost as if you're shaking its hand. You're shaking the hand of this discomfort and just allowing it to be without judgment, without criticism, without an agenda, without expectation. Just welcome it into your body and see what that's like and see what it feels like. And that to me is the place to start.
So that everyone take that in, because I think this is important. As if you're shaking the hand to the discomfort and the unwanted emotion that you might be resisting or pushing down or avoiding. You're welcoming it in. You're greeting it in a way.
Exactly. You're creating it. You're opening the door to it and inviting it inside, and with an acknowledgement that it doesn't feel good. And that's okay. There's an honesty and a vulnerability to this process, which is to say, I'm letting something in that doesn't feel good. But you know what? I can do hard things and I can feel hard feelings, and I can stay with this for a few minutes.
And what I hear from people is, okay, that sounds good, but then I'm afraid I'm going to get stuck in it and not be able to
Hmm.
get out. And like, I'm going to not be able to function, or I'm not going to be able to take care of the kids or go to work or do what I need to do because I'm going to be enveloped with it. It's going to take me under, if you will.
Yeah.
What do you say to that? Someone
I
that's really afraid of getting stuck in it.
And I say that's a really real and valid. Not when I say valid, yes, it is a real and valid fear. And I see that and I understand it and I hear it. But what I will say to that, and I know from experience working with patients on my bodywork table, is that there are many, many, many feelings that my patients have gotten to the edge of, an edge of a feeling that they're almost ready to touch. They're almost ready to feel, and they pull back because they feel like they won't survive it. And that may sound like hyperbole. It's not. People feel like there's a deep grief or trauma, loss. It feels like you won't survive it if you let that feeling in. And in those moments, I do not say, oh, sure, you can feel it. I don't say, oh, you got this. I sit in the truth of that moment. And the truth of that moment is that you feel like you can't survive it. That, like I said before, it's in a different example. That is big stuff. And that is an opening of a door to slowly begin to let a feeling in. So when you realize you don't want to feel it, or you feel like it's going to overcome you, that is an opening. The other thing I will say to somebody who says, I can't do it, it's too much, I'll get stuck in it, is that feelings are waves. Emotions are waves. And so while we might be fearful that we are going to get stuck in a particular moment, the natural dynamic of emotions is that they excel, crescendo, peak, and then they dissipate and they go away. And so the more that somebody practices on smaller, less threatening emotions, they begin to trust in this wave-like pattern. And they begin to see that, yes, their feeling of failure came, crescendoed, peaked, and went away. The more you can trust the wave-like feeling of emotion, the more you're going to feel like you may be able to trust that a really, really hard feeling can get through. But the honoring, we have to always honor with the body. We always have to honor those feelings, because there's a reason why we've pushed away feelings. There's a reason why some feelings are too hard to feel. And we have to honor that in every way possible. A kind of a fun thing that I've noticed with people with feelings is that a really hard feeling, we may feel like it'll never end. You have an experience of feeling like complete sadness, loss, grief. In the moment, it feels like it will never, ever end. When you have a feeling that is wonderful, right? Like a feeling, I don't know, of you just went to the doctor and you got a clean bill of health and you're feeling just terrific about that. That feeling you try to freeze in time because you know it's fleeting, right? So for emotions that we covet, that we want, that we desire, we know that they're fleeting and we know that they go away. But for feelings that are hard and impossible to feel, we fear that they will never go away. I don't know if that makes sense,
Makes
but
perfect sense.
yeah.
Yeah. And we also feel like if I feel joy, I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. So I
Yes.
don't fully
Yes.
let myself feel it because I'm waiting for the next bad thing to happen. So it's hard to
Absolutely.
allow that feeling to come fully through you sometimes because you're
Yeah.
so afraid that it means unlocks a fear sometimes partnered with maybe joy sometimes. Like this moment is going to come to an end or something bad's going to happen next. This is too good to be true.
It's too good to be true. You're talking about the idiom of, and we use it in the English language, mixed feelings. Feelings like each other's company, right? They're crowded, and joy can coexist with loss or grief.
I think that's so important to know that they can coexist
They can coexist.
because we
Yeah.
think it's just like one feeling, like siloed. And often
Yeah.
it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
There's so many more. Can you speak a little more about that? Feelings
Sure.
coexisting and having more than one at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is real life. I don't know if you've seen the movie, and maybe your listeners have seen Inside Out 2.
Love it.
Love
Although
it,
I got
right?
so anxious watching it on an airplane. I was like,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
so anxious watching this on the airplane just because she was so anxious. And I'm
He
like,
was so
oh, I
anxious.
could feel the anxiety. So I had to do my deep breathing and feel my feet
Yeah.
on the floor.
She was so funny.
She was
Anxiety.
so
Yeah, she
funny.
was so
Yes.
funny. I loved her. So, what I like about Inside Out too is that our feelings are like a cast of characters. And they exist within us at the same time. And that's why I love this sort of visual narrative of how that plays out. So they're in and out, they're fighting each other, they're talking to each other. And so we can have anxiety and joy exist at the same time. The statement or the phrase, and we use it all the time in therapy, and is that two things can be true at the same time. So same goes for our feelings. We can feel joy and grief at the same time, and we're just holding those two feelings.
Yes. I love an and
Yeah.
in both. Two
Yeah.
things can be true. I love that because it opens up your world. It's not so right, wrong, good, bad, all, nothing, where we grew up, maybe in that, many people in that environment.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
expands our bodies and our minds and our spirit and our emotions when you can do two things can be true.
It
So
sure does. It sure does. Yeah.
I love it so, so much. What books have been the most expanding, life changing? And it could be the first ones that come to mind. It could be about anything, like really made an impact on you and maybe how you shifted or opened up.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of books. The Candace Pert's book, The Molecules of Emotion, was a book that really shifted my mindset because it opened the door to the fact that emotions have a scientific, physical, biochemical experience in our bodies through neurotransmitters and the receptors being found all over the body. And this was when I was in medical school. So that book allowed me to really step out of myself, and it was able to sort of step out of that more scientific, data-driven world, although we live in it and we have to be in that world. It just opened the door for me. So I would say that book was a big one. Oh gosh, there's so many
It's like
books.
picking your favorite,
Yeah.
whatever, but it's hard.
Yeah, there's a book that's not I don't think it's that well known. It's called The Art of Effortless Living. That book made a big impact on me. I met the author at a bodywork training maybe 25 years ago. But this book is about her personal experience of being a perfectionist and just always trying and working so hard, and what that did to her physical body. And then it is her journey towards finding more ease in both her life and her body. And that was a biggie for me. That was a big one.
I'm already drawn to that.
The woman is Ingrid Bacci, Bacci. Ingrid Bacci, The Art of Effortless Living.
And I'll link these in the show notes along with your book.
Yeah.
It's going to be powerful for those that are on this journey of connecting more emotionally. Because I would say it's the single most important part, connecting with emotions in your body, that you will do in your life.
Yeah.
Because you're not pushing it into the body. You're letting it up and out of the body, which then frees the body from aches, pains. I'm not saying you're not going to have some of those. And I think there's such an ease and flow that comes from, is it hard at times? Yeah. And it's empowering.
It's empowering.
It's life
Oh,
changing.
it's so empowering. To know that you can withstand a tough feeling is such big stuff.
It is. And we weren't taught that. Like, oh, you can feel it and you're going to be okay. You're going to get through it and get to the other side. Yeah. And it's going to enrich your life because you're going to open up to more compassion and empathy and security within yourself. That builds security. It's not from outside of yourself. Is there anything we didn't cover that you feel like is really important on this topic around your book? Is there anything else that you think, oh, we didn't hit on that?
No, I mean, I think that we really covered so much. I wanted to get to the question, and we did. I wanted to get to the question of why feeling hard feelings matters, because I think that's really worth thinking about and really worth sort of asking the question to ourselves as well.
I agree. If that's the takeaway, I mean, that's one takeaway. I think that's a really important rumbling through because avoidance keeps us stuck. That's what I know with any client I've had. And we all have it at different levels at different times in our lives. And we go, oh, thank you. You were helping me survive something. And now I'm ready to be with. I might not have been ready before or had the tools or had the capability or the support system or whatever that looks like. And now you're ready. So welcome. And I'm glad you're here. Is what I want to say to anybody that's listening, that's willing to do this. And I just want to say welcome. Everybody's welcome here. And I'm just grateful for the work you're doing in the world, in your book. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you? If they're like, yes, I love what Jenn said, where can they find you?
So I have a website, www.drjennrapkin.com. But my book has been only out for a few weeks, and it's on sale in Amazon right now, both an ebook and a paperback. And it can also be special ordered at local and larger bookstores. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. And I've so much enjoyed this conversation.
I'm so grateful for you. And I'll link the book in the show notes and in our newsletter so you can find it easily. You can just click on the link and order if you're interested. And thank you so much for your heart, your energy, and the love you're putting out into the world.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much for listening to the Close the Chapter podcast. My hope is that you took home some actionable steps along with motivation, inspiration, and hope for making sustainable change in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button to be sure to get the updated episodes every week and share with a friend or a family member. For more information about how to get connected, visit Kristen, Kristen, Boyce, BOICE.com. Thanks and have a great day.